Exactly what it feels like when the mathematics of your life completely stop working. You wake up at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling in the dark. You feel a heavy, crushing physical weight pressing down on your chest. You are terrified to look at your bank account because you know the number is 0. Or worse, it is a terrifying, suffocating negative number. Your credit cards are completely maxed out. You decline phone calls from unknown numbers because your stomach drops, knowing it is probably another aggressive debt collector. You feel like you are drowning in the middle of a dark ocean, and the water level is rising every single day. The financial elites on Wall Street, the men in the tailored suits managing billion-dollar hedge funds, they do not want to talk to you. You do not have any capital for them to manage. To the modern financial system, you are invisible. But today I am talking directly to you. I am going to teach you exactly how to rebuild a financial empire from the absolute ashes of zero. The very first thing we must do is perform an emergency psychological operation on your mind. We must remove the poison that is keeping you paralyzed. Society has convinced you that being broke or being deeply in debt is a moral failure. You feel a deep, toxic sense of shame. You feel like a bad parent, a bad provider, or a fundamental failure of a human being. You must immediately stop thinking this way. I need you to completely separate your self-worth from your net worth. Your financial collapse is not a moral failing. It is simply a mathematical error. And more importantly, it is a mathematical error that the global financial system was meticulously designed to make you commit. The system does not want you to be wealthy. The modern economy thrives and expands entirely on the financial illiteracy of the working class. From the moment you got your first job, you were bombarded with predatory lending. You were handed high-interest credit cards before you even understood how compound interest works. You were aggressively brainwashed by a consumer culture that demands you buy things you cannot afford to impress people who do not even care about you. You were placed in a maze that was explicitly designed to trap you in a cycle of endless debt. You made mistakes, yes, but you were playing a game that was rigged against you from the start. But here is the harsh, unforgiving truth that you must accept if you want to survive. While the system may be rigged, blaming the system will not pay your rent tomorrow. Complaining about the billionaire class will not put food on your family's table. You are at the absolute bottom of a dark canyon, and nobody is coming to save you. No politician is going to rescue you. No magical lottery ticket is going to fix your life. No secret cryptocurrency tip is going to drop a rope down to pull you out of the darkness. The rescue mission relies entirely on you. You must become your own savior. To do this, you must accept absolute brutal responsibility for your current coordinates. You cannot chart a course to freedom if you refuse to look at the map that shows you are currently in hell. Most people in massive debt practice a deadly habit called financial avoidance. They throw the credit card bills in the trash without opening them. They ignore the math, hoping a miracle will happen. Miracles do not happen in finance. Only math happens. Tonight, you must sit down at your kitchen table with a blank piece of paper and a pen. You must open every single envelope. You must log into every single account. You must write down the exact, ugly, terrifying numerical reality of your debt, down to the very last penny. You must stop hiding from the numbers. You must stop lying to your spouse about how much you actually owe. And most importantly, you must stop lying to yourself. Look at that piece of paper. That number is your enemy. But it is just a number. It is not a reflection of your soul. When you finally look the monster in the eye, something incredible happens. The terror begins to fade. The unknown is always scarier than the known. Many people are terrified of hitting absolute zero, but I am telling you, zero is not a tragedy. Zero is a massive victory. When you finally claw your way out of negative $50,000 and reach exactly $0, you will have defeated the system. Zero is not hell. Zero is a clean slate. Zero is the true starting line of your life. But to get to zero, we must stop the bleeding immediately. We must ruthlessly slash the financial dead weight from your lifestyle. Let us look at the exact steps you must take tomorrow morning. Now that you have looked the monster in the eye and you know the exact numerical reality of your debt, it is time to act. When people hit absolute rock bottom, their first instinct is usually to look for a magical offensive weapon. They look for a high-risk investment, a volatile cryptocurrency, or a lottery ticket that will magically erase $30,000 of debt overnight. This is the exact mindset that keeps the working class permanently impoverished. You cannot invest your way out of a burning house. If you are carrying credit card debt at a 25% interest rate, there is no legal investment on the planet that will outpace that mathematical destruction. Before you can build an empire, you must stop the bleeding. You must perform a ruthless, precise financial surgery on your current lifestyle. To do this, we must identify and eliminate the silent killer of the modern middle and lower classes. I call it the ego tax. The ego tax is the premium you pay to convince people you do not even like, that you have money you do not actually possess. Look around you. You see people who earn $40,000 a year driving a $45,000 car. They are paying $600 a month for a vehicle that mathematically depreciates the second they turn the key. They are carrying a $1,000 smartphone in their pocket, paying $30 a month for multiple streaming services, and spending $15 a day on premium coffee and food delivery. They do this because society has conditioned them to fear looking poor more than actually being poor. They are buying the temporary illusion of wealth, and they are paying for it with their permanent freedom. If you are at zero, or if you are in the negative, you can no longer afford the ego tax. You must immediately declare a state of financial emergency. Starting tomorrow morning, you are going to put your lifestyle into absolute quarantine. You are going to cancel every single subscription service. You do not need to watch the newest television show when your financial house is on fire. You are going to stop eating in restaurants entirely. You will buy basic groceries, you will cook your own meals, and you will eat rice and beans if you have to. Consider the automobile. I have often observed people who are drowning in debt, yet they continue to drive cars with heavy monthly payments. In their minds, they believe it is a necessity or a status symbol. But in the cold mathematics of wealth creation, a finance car is not a status symbol. It is a heavy iron anchor dragging them straight to the bottom of the ocean. When a person truly wants to escape the trap, they do not cling to depreciating assets. They downgrade. They take the bus. They ride a bicycle. Or they buy a simple, inexpensive vehicle in cash that merely gets them from point A to point B. When you start executing this financial surgery, something highly predictable is going to happen. You are going to experience massive social resistance. Your friends and your coworkers will notice the change. They will invite you out for expensive dinners and weekend drinks. When you tell them you cannot go because you are on a $0 budget, they will look at you strangely. They will call you cheap. They will say you are taking things too seriously. They will tell you that you need to live a little. You must ignore them completely. Let them laugh. Remember, the people mocking your discipline are likely drowning in the exact same debt trap you are trying to escape. They are deeply uncomfortable with your new behavior because your discipline highlights their lack of control. Isolation is the price of salvation. You are separating yourself from the herd of the financially blind. Take every single dollar you save from eliminating the ego tax and hurl it violently at your debt. Attack the highest interest rates first. Treat every $100 you pay off as a life-saving breath of oxygen. This process will not be fast, and it will not be glamorous. It will require months, perhaps even years of brutal monastic discipline. There will be days when you feel incredibly tired and unfairly punished. But I want you to visualize the exact moment you make that final payment. I want you to imagine logging into your banking app, looking at the screen, and seeing that your debt is finally wiped out. Your net worth is exactly $0. As I said before, most people fear zero. But when you climb out of the dark canyon of debt, zero is the most beautiful number in the universe. Zero means the interest is no longer compounding against you. Zero means the debt collectors can no longer call your phone. Zero means you finally own 100% of your own life. Reaching zero is your graduation day from the financial matrix. But zero is only the baseline. Once you have stopped the bleeding, the real game begins. You have no money, but you now possess the single most valuable asset on earth. We must now talk about your only remaining capital and how to weaponize your time when your bank account is empty. We have successfully stopped the bleeding. You have eliminated the ego tax. You have cut the dead weight, and you have survived the social isolation. But now you are sitting at your kitchen table facing a terrifying reality. You look at your bank account and the balance is exactly zero. You have no cash to invest in the stock market. You have no capital to acquire real estate. You cannot start a traditional business. The standard rules of wealth creation seem completely locked away behind a massive iron door. This is the exact moment where 99% of people surrender. They believe that because they have no financial money, they have no capital at all. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what capital actually is. Money is simply stored energy, but it is not the only form of energy. When your financial capital is completely wiped out, you must pivot immediately to your ultimate remaining asset. You must learn to weaponize your time and your cognitive focus. Every single human being on earth, whether they are a billionaire in a penthouse or a broke laborer sleeping on a friend's couch, receives the exact same daily deposit 24 hours. When you have no money, time is the only currency you have left to trade. But the tragedy of the lower income class is how violently they waste their remaining currency. Let us look at what happens when a broke person finishes their 8-hour shift. They come home physically tired and emotionally defeated by the reality of their poverty because their life currently feels like a nightmare. Their brain desperately seeks an escape. They do not want to think about the zero in their bank account. So they reach for the cheap instant dopamine to numb the pain. They open social media and scroll for 3 hours, watching other people live, fake glamorous lives. They play video games to feel a false sense of achievement. They watch endless hours of television, or they go to the bar to complain about the economy with other broke people. This is not relaxation. This is absolute financial self-sabotage. When you give your evening hours away to entertainment platforms, you are taking your only remaining capital and voluntarily handing it over to multi-billion-dollar technology companies. You are making them richer while you ensure your own permanent financial trap. If you want to escape the cycle, you must undergo a radical shift in how you view the clock. You work 8 hours to pay for your basic survival. You sleep 8 hours to repair your biological hardware. That leaves you with 8 hours. Let us be extremely conservative and focus on just 4 of those hours, the window between 6 o'clock in the evening and 10 o'clock at night. Those 4 hours are your rescue fund. Those 4 hours are the seed capital for your new empire. If you squander those 4 hours on entertainment, you are actively choosing to be poor tomorrow. But if you protect those 4 hours with the absolute aggression of a hungry predator, you can buy your freedom. To execute this, you must build an absolute defense system around your evenings. Poor people love to spend their time on things that do not pay them. They argue with strangers on the internet about politics. They worry about the personal lives of celebrities. They spend hours helping a lazy friend move a couch just to be nice. You must stop being nice. You are financially bankrupt. You cannot afford to give your time away to anyone or anything that does not increase your market value. When you come home at 6 o'clock, you must lock the door. You must put your smartphone in another room. You must turn off the television. You must treat those 4 hours exactly like a hedge fund manager treats a billion-dollar investment portfolio. You do not let anyone touch it. You do not let any distractions interrupt it. You sit down in absolute silence. At first, sitting in silence without the distraction of a screen will feel physically uncomfortable. Your brain will beg you to check your messages. It will beg you to turn on a movie. You must endure the discomfort. You must stare at the blank wall until your mind accepts that there is no escape. Because once you eliminate the cheap distractions, your brain will finally have the bandwidth to focus on the one thing that can actually save you. You will stop consuming and you will start learning. You will take those 4 hours of raw time and you will convert them into high income, irreplaceable skills. And that brings us to the next crucial phase of the restart blueprint. We must discuss exactly how to stop being a replaceable laborer and how to use those 4 hours to manufacture absolute leverage. We have secured your 4 hours. You have locked the door. You have eliminated the cheap dopamine, and you are sitting in absolute silence. Now, we must put that time to work. We must address the most brutal, unforgiving truth about the global labor market. The market is a cold, emotionless, calculating machine. It does not pay you based on your moral goodness. It does not pay you based on your physical exhaustion. And it certainly does not care how much you need the money to feed your children. The market pays you based on one metric, and one metric only: how difficult you are to replace. If the system can pull a random person off the street and train them to do your exact job in 72 hours, your economic value is effectively zero. It does not matter if you are sweating for 8 hours a day. You are a biological consumable. You are a highly replaceable gear in a wealth-generating machine owned by someone else. This is why working harder at a minimum wage job will never make you rich. You can work 80 hours a week. You can destroy your back and your knees, but multiplying a microscopic hourly rate by a few more hours still equals mathematical poverty. To escape the $0 trap, you must undergo a fundamental metamorphosis. You must transform yourself from a replaceable laborer into an irreplaceable asset. And you will do this using the 4 evening hours we just secured. Society will tell you that The only way to become valuable is to borrow $80,000, go into massive student debt, and spend 4 years sitting in a university classroom. This is another sophisticated trap designed to keep the middle class trapped. You are starting at zero. You do not have the time, the luxury, or the capital for traditional credentials. What you need right now is micro-skill leverage. A micro-skill is a highly specific, aggressively narrow capability that solves a very expensive problem for businesses or individuals. For the next 6 months, you are going to use your 4 hours of absolute silence to master one of these skills. You can learn complex digital marketing. You can learn how to write software code. You can learn advanced data analysis. Or you can even master a highly specialized physical trade like advanced plumbing or electrical diagnostics. The internet contains the greatest entirely free library of human knowledge ever assembled in history. The information is not hidden from you. It is simply waiting for someone with the brutal discipline to sit down and consume it. During this 6-month sprint, you will likely not see a single dollar financial return. You will study in the dark. Your friends will still be laughing at your $0 budget and your refusal to go to the bar. But let them laugh. While they are physically and mentally depreciating on the couch, you are compounding your internal market value. Then the mathematical flip occurs. When you finally enter the marketplace with an irreplaceable skill, the physics of your income completely change. You are no longer selling your physical time. You are selling the solution to a specific problem. A replaceable laborer swings a hammer for $15 an hour. A specialist walks into a factory, knows exactly which specific bolt to hit with a hammer to fix a $1 million machine, and charges $5,000 for 5 minutes of work. That is leverage. You must become the specialist. When you possess a rare and lucrative skill, employers and clients can no longer dictate your worth. You dictate your worth. You stop asking for permission to survive, and you start negotiating from a position of absolute power. This is the exact mechanism of how you transfer yourself from the bottom of the economic pyramid to the secure middle class and beyond. You use the raw, unrefined capital of your evening time to manufacture absolute leverage. But manufacturing this leverage is only the preparation. Once you possess the skill, you must execute the most difficult financial maneuver of your entire life. You must secure your first real capital, and more importantly, you must learn how to protect it from the psychological demons that will immediately try to steal it back. Imagine it is January 1st, 2026. I am standing in your shoes. I have my 95 years of experience. I have my memories. I have my rationality, but I have been stripped of every single dollar. I have no Berkshire Hathaway. I have no reputation on Wall Street. I have no safety net. My bank account reads zero. The world around me is noisy. It is chaotic. People are screaming about the latest technology, the latest crisis, the latest way to get rich overnight. Inflation is eating away at the value of cash. The cost of living feels like a heavy weight on my chest. What do? Do I panic? Do I gamble? Do I try to become a billionaire by Tuesday? No, I take a deep breath and I look at the mountain in front of me. My partner Charlie Munger famously said the first $100,000 is a bitch. He did not use that word lightly. He meant that the first stage of wealth accumulation is the hardest thing you will ever do. It is harder than making your first million. It is harder than making your first billion. Because when you are starting from zero, you have no momentum. You are pushing a boulder up a steep hill, and gravity is fighting you every single inch of the way. You have no compound interest working for you yet. You are the only engine. So if I were starting today, in the chaos of 2026, my plan would not begin with picking a stock. It would not begin with opening a brokerage account. It would begin with a radical surgery on my own mind. This brings us to step number one: kill the outer scorecard. Most people in 2026 are poor, not because they lack income, but because they are enslaved by what I call the outer scorecard. The outer scorecard is the need to show the world that you are doing well. It is the leased car that you cannot afford. It is the expensive clothes that you buy to impress people you do not like. It is the vacation you put on a credit card so you can post a picture on social media. In 2026, this pressure is stronger than it was in 1942. I only knew what my neighbors were doing. Today, you open your phone and you see what the richest people in the world are doing every second. You see 19-year-olds claiming to be millionaires. You see effortless wealth, and your biology screams at you, I am behind, I am a failure, I need to catch up. If I have $0, I must accept a brutal truth. I am not in a position to impress anyone. If I try to look rich, While I am poor, I will stay poor forever. The math does not allow for vanity. So my first move is to disappear. I would disconnect my self-worth from my net worth. I would stop looking at what others are buying. I would adopt what looks like a boring, perhaps even a miserable lifestyle to the outside world. I would live well below my means. If I make $3,000 a month, I would live as if I make, you might say, but Warren, that is painful, that is suffering. And I would tell you, no, that is freedom. The moment you stop caring about the outer scorecard, you reclaim your resources. Every dollar you do not spend on looking rich is a dollar that can actually make you rich. When I was young, I wore clothes until they fell apart. I drove a simple car. I lived in a house that cost a fraction of what I could afford. I did not do this because I was stingy. I did this because I understood the opportunity cost. I knew that a dollar spent on a fancy dinner today was not just $1, it was $10 lost in the future. It was $100 lost in 30 years. I was not buying a dinner, I was eating my future financial independence. So step one in my 2026 plan is psychological defense. I would build a fortress around my mind. I would tell myself, I am building a foundation, and foundations are underground. Nobody sees them. They are dark, they are dirty, but without them the skyscraper collapses. Once I've secured my mind, once I've killed the ego, I must face the second reality of starting from zero. I need capital, and since I have no money, I have to exploit the only asset I have left, my human capital. In the world of investing, we talk about return on capital, but when you have no financial capital, you must look at return on energy. If I were 20 years old in 2026, I would look at the economy differently than most young people look for a job. They look for a paycheck. They trade their time for money, and they hate every minute of it. They do the bare minimum not to get fired. This is a disastrous strategy. If I have $0, I must become a machine of value creation. I would not just look for a job. I would look for a way to increase my earning power. I have often said that the best investment you can make is in yourself. This is not a cliche, it is a mathematical fact. If you can increase your skills, your communication ability, your technical knowledge, so that you are 10% more valuable to the marketplace, that is an asset that no inflation can eat away. That is an asset that no government can tax 100% of. I would look at my circle of competence. What am I good at? Am I good at writing? Am I good at selling? Am I good at organizing? I would not try to be everything. I would not try to chase the hot trends just because they are hot. If I don't understand artificial intelligence, I wouldn't try to fake it. I would double down on what I understand. If I were selling shoes, I would be the best shoe salesman in the state. I would know more about shoes than anyone else. I would care more about the customer than anyone else, because excellence is rare. And because excellence is rare, it is eventually rewarded. I would work harder than anyone else. I know this is not popular to say in 2026. People talk about work-life balance. And that is fine if you are already wealthy, but if you are at zero and you want to get to $100,000, balance is not your friend. Intensity is your friend. I would take extra shifts. I would read trade journals at night. I would study the psychology of my boss and my customers. I would treat my labor not as a burden, but as the seed corn for my future farm. Every dollar I earn from this labor has a specific purpose. It is not for consumption. It is for the snowball. You see, the first $100,000 is hard because you are the only one pushing the snowball. It is heavy. It is wet. The hill is not steep enough yet. You have to push with your back, your legs, your entire soul. But you have to believe in the math. You have to believe that if you keep pushing, eventually the snowball will get big enough that it starts to roll on its own. Most people give up before it rolls. They push for 2 years, they save $10,000, and then they get bored. They see a new car, they take a trip, they melt the snowball, and they have to start all over again at the bottom of the hill. I would make a vow to myself, I will not melt the snowball. I will eat peanut butter sandwiches if I have to. I will walk to work if I have to. But I will get to that first $100,000 because I know the secret. I know that once I cross that line, the game changes. The money starts to work for me. But before we get there, we have to talk about where to put this money we're saving. Because in 2026, there are 1,000 traps waiting to steal your hard-earned capital. There are sharks in the water. And if you are a small fish, you have to be very, very careful. This leads us to the next step of the plan: how to deploy capital when you have almost nothing. We have reached the final chapter of our blueprint. By now, you know how to kill the ego. You know how to save the capital. You know how to defend against debt. You know how to wait for the fat pitch. If you follow these rules with discipline, I can almost guarantee that you will get your first $100,000, and then the math will take over, and you will likely become wealthy. But here's the warning that I must give you. It is a warning that no finance textbook will tell you. You can win the game of money and still lose the game of life. I have known many people who built massive fortunes. They have buildings named after them. They have private jets. They have the outer scorecard that the world envies. But when you look at their inner scorecard, it is empty. I have sat at dinner tables with billionaires who are the most miserable people on earth. They are paranoid, they are lonely, their children despise them, their spouses are only waiting for them to die, they have no real friends, only employees and sycophants. They spent 50 years climbing the ladder of success only to realize that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. If I am starting from zero in 2026, I want to be rich, but I do not want to be that kind of rich. So as I build my snowball, I must follow the final rule: protect your reputation and your relationships at all costs. Reputation is a peculiar asset. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you will do things differently. In 2026, in the rush to get that first $100,000, you will be tempted to cut corners. You will be tempted to betray a partner for a quick profit. You will be tempted to sell a product you don't believe in. Do not do it. When you have $0, your integrity is your only currency. If you lose that, you are truly bankrupt. I would rather lose money than lose a shred of reputation. Money can be made back. I can start over in 2026 and make $100,000 again. But I cannot buy back a stained reputation. And beyond reputation, there is love. When you get to my age, when you are 95 years old, you will measure your success in life by one simple metric. It is not the size of your bank account. It is not the number of companies you own. It is this: how many of the people you want to have love you actually do love you. That is the ultimate test. You can buy sex. You can buy testimonial dinners. You can buy influence, but you cannot buy love. The only way to get love is to be lovable. It is irritating. I know you would like to think you could write a check, I will buy $1 million worth of love. But it doesn't work that way. The more you give love away, the more you get. If I start my journey in 2026, I will work hard. I will be frugal. I will be rational. But I will never be too busy to be a good friend. I will never be too focused on the snowball that I forget to call my children. I will never sacrifice a relationship for a transaction. Because at the end of the day, the snowball is just a tool. It is a tool to buy freedom. It is a tool to help others. It is a tool to ensure you don't have to worry. But it is not the destination. The destination is peace of mind. So here is my challenge to you. The year is 2026. The world is chaotic. The headlines are terrifying. The economy is uncertain. It is the perfect time to start. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait for the luck to find you. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Start today.
Look at your bank account. Maybe it says zero. Maybe it says negative. It doesn't matter. That is just your starting point. It is not your definition. Forgive yourself for the mistakes of the past. Forgive yourself for the time you wasted. Forgive yourself for the money you lost. Clear the slate. Draw a line in the sand. Start building your inner scorecard today. Start saving that first dollar today. Start reading that first page today. Start becoming the person you want to be. The hill is long, the snow is wet. But if you just keep rolling day after day, year after year, you will be amazed at how big your mountain can grow. I will see you at the top. Thank you.